Hi, and thank you for watching this video. So in this video, I will use Terraform to create an infrastructure, basically. Now, Terraform is quite useful. It's a very clever tool, and it helps developers or users build cloud platforms, shall I say. So if we begin, as you can see on my screen, I've got PowerShell open, and currently it points to a path where I'll be using to configure these Terraform exercise. So if we make a start by bringing up my browser here, in here what you see is my AWS account, and you can also see some instances which have been previously set up and then eventually stopped and also terminated. So there's two entries here which are no longer active as at the time of recording. So what we will use Terraform to do is we will configure it and instruct it to go ahead and carry out some tasks for us basically. So if we minimize this for now and revert back to our PowerShell command line. And another useful thing I can show you here is the folder, the path where this PowerShell is pointing to. So the folder is, I just named it demo EC2 instance. That's just a random name I've given the folder. However, before we can begin using Terraform, we need to have it configured. So in the background, just to save time, I've configured this locally. So if we can run a quick command just to see if that has installed properly. So if we do Terraform -version, we should see that's been installed correctly. So if we go to our left side of the screen, we've got two files in this current folder. Now, for Terraform to begin with Terraform, we need a couple of Terraform files. And most importantly, we've got a main.tf file here. That's the main important one. The output is just equally as important, but it can be optional. So if we review what's inside this file, okay. Now this file basically contains nothing but instructions, which Terraform you will review and use it to create what we're trying to achieve. Now the good thing to know is Terraform doesn't need every single information. However, it just needs some basics, and because it's a smart tool, it will get an idea of what you're trying to achieve, and then it will add the rest. It will fill in the gaps, basically, add the rest that you've not covered in the file itself, providing you've covered the basic ones that you need. So if we look at the top, we've got AWS provider and region. Now this is always very important because AWS has a number of servers which are dotted across the world, and they're all placed in their own individual regions. So it's very important to highlight the region where you want to target basically. So in our example here, I'm going for EU Central 1, which should point to Frankfurt. And then if we go through the file, we've got few security groups, which should allow different connections such as HTTP and also SSH into our platform once we have it up and running. So that, in a nutshell, covers this. And another important information to have in this Terraform file is the instance details. So the instance details is nothing but the server we're trying to spin up, the details of it, which Terraform will use to basically go and create it for us. So here we've got a few details, the image ID, which is very important. So that needs to be declared in the file. And the instance type, whether it's a T2 micro, whether it's a T3 micro, or any other type, needs to be declared here as well. And then we've got the key name as well. Now, the key name is basically a short way to explain it is key pairs need to be downloaded. This will help us when trying to SSH later into our instance once it's up and running. So once Terraform creates this for us, we may decide to connect to that server through our local machine and then run some perform various tasks basically, such as installing or configuring things on that server once it's up and running. So that has been covered here as well. And lastly, we've got the tags. And the tags is simply the naming convention we're going to give the platform once it's up and running or once it's been configured. So if we go back to my AWS instance page, we will see few entries. We've got two entries here, and one of them being the demo EC2 instance, and then the other one is I think new IAC practice instance as well. So these names that you see here is what will appear once we run this file, but rather we will see a third entry, which is the virtual server one, basically. So in a nutshell, that covers the main file. This file is currently is basic, but it can be expanded depending on the size of platform you're trying to create, or also the tasks which you're trying to create on the platform as well. So that is that. If I exit this file, the next file is outputs. Again, like I said, outputs is equally important. However, it's not a necessity in order for Terraform to go ahead and create this platform for us. So if we access the file, it has just one task in there to perform, and all it's doing is once the main file goes ahead and carries what it's meant to do, and the output should just basically return an IP address for the new instance that will be created. So that covers that as well. So what we're going to do in a nutshell is we're going to ask Terraform to go ahead and create a server for us on AWS. Now, for this to happen, everything, my account and Terraform needs to be configured, which I have done in a separate session. So that doesn't need to take place here. So now that everything is configured, we've got our Terraform files ready, our main file. What we can do is we can make a start. And the first command that we will run is Terraform initialize. So Terraform init. And what this will do is it will gather all the tools that will be required to build our resource on AWS. So this should take a few moments to complete. Now, whilst this is going on in the background, we may see some files or folders appear in our directory, our Terraform directory. Okay, so we can see our first file or folder being created successfully, which is a good thing. And hopefully we should move on to the next step. Okay, so we've got a good message here. It just says that it's been successfully initialized. So what we can do is we can move on to the next step. And the next command we would run is Terraform plan. Now, Terraform plan gathers everything that we've put in our files, basically, that will be required to spin up our server. So it will gather all the information, and then it will assess to see if that's enough. If that's not enough, if the contents of that file is not enough, and it needs other things or other tools or other configurations to make it happen, it will it will automatically basically do it for us in a nutshell. So if we run Terraform plan, that should also carry out that task for us. So we may see few additional files being created in our Terraform directory. Okay. So what this means is basically these are all the actions is going to perform is going to perform to create our instance. So if we start from the very top after we run the Terraform plan, what it will do is it will add all these entries. So as you can see in here, everything that's in green plus is items are going to be added or items are going to be put together to create our resource. Now, you will see on here the few details which has been declared in our file, Terraform file. So the image ID that's present, and then all the other entries that says known after apply. These are all the additional information which it will try to extract from the resource once it creates it. So it has all the configurations needed to create these additional entries, and once they are created, it will basically we will know the details of it once it's been complete. So in a nutshell, that's what that's taking place here. And if I review this and I'm happy with everything that is going to perform, I can move on to the next command. Okay, so the next command to run is Terraform apply. Now, the Terraform apply is basically asking it to go ahead and put everything together. Everything has been listed to us. Everything has been presented to us so far. So go ahead, put it together, and initialize and create our resource for us. So if I do enter at this point, it should begin to apply all the changes or all the changes, and we may get a prompt to say to confirm if you're happy to go ahead. And there we go. As we been asked, do you want to perform these actions which the plan returned? And if I do yes at this stage and select enter, that should begin to create our instance. So this shouldn't take too long at this stage. And once it's been complete, we can go ahead and verify at the front end. And hopefully there may not be any errors. If there are any errors, we can look into it and see if we can resolve it. So as expected, the apply has been complete. And as you can see on here, the resource has been added. There were two changes, there were two additional things that were added as part of the setup, which we did not add initially. Nothing has been destroyed. And as we mentioned at the beginning of the video, we did say that the outputs should return the IP address. And as we can see on here, the demo EC2 instance IP address that has been returned. So our resource has been created, our server has been created, and an IP address for it, a public IP address for it has been established. And here we can see it. So what we can do at this point, everything is done as far as we're concerned, setup is concerned. So if we go to the front end, okay, remember initially when we started, we only had two entries, which none of them were active. So if we refresh our screen, we should see a third entry. And as we see, if I expand my screen here, we can see the virtual server 1, which we created in our Terraform configuration file. That has been set up. And as you can see on here, our server is up and running. So at this point, we can, we're happy, we're content that our server is running, and we can do various things to it. We can access the server details here, and hopefully we can even connect it and start using the CLI for it in this session here, or we can revert back to our local CLI and then perform any next tasks basically. So hopefully this video has been helpful. Hopefully if there's any better way of doing this, please share your thoughts and ideas. I'm eager to learn. So thank you for watching.